Welcome to the second week of our B Corp Month interviews. In week 1, we had Chief Happiness Officer. Week 2, we're starting with a man who believes the world could be a happier place with more Radiohead and doesn't like talking about himself. So this is going to be a great interview with Andy from Kid A. Andy, great to have you. Please tell us about Kid A and yourself.
So Kid A is essentially a consultancy business, and we work predominantly with mobile network operators and tier 1 retailers in the UK, and we manage categories of their business for them in a simple way, and it's way more fun and sexier than it sounds.
And where does B Corp come into that category of?
Straight to it, straight to the biscuits. If I kind of look back when we were building the business, I remember trying to think, okay, how can we make Kid A bit more robust in the eyes of the market? And Adam, my co-founder, who unfortunately can't be here today, we wanted to create a business that had an environment that kind of gave none of the stress and the pressures that we faced in our 20 years of corporate. Corporate has got some amazing things that we've taken from it, and we wouldn't be here today without it. But we wanted to sort of have a real place of free-thinking people. And I can remember looking at things like Investors in People and all the classics that you see on the footnotes of big companies' websites. And funny enough, it was the owners, our landlords in our office here at the Overlook Hotel that had this weird P on it. And I sort of Googled it, looked into it, and I was like, well, this is pretty weird. I didn't really understand it at the time. So I phoned him up and he said, look, it's this non-profit organization that has a framework that you can adhere to be a really good business and a kind of angel on your shoulder. And it sort of really rang true with us because we wanted to be that type of business. It's not just about the planet, it was about the people for us as well. And what I really liked about it is that they really got under the hood of the business and had to audit you. And I thought that was quite tricky. And then I found out you had to change your articles of association to put the planet and people before that when you incorporate your company. And I took it to the board and we all really liked it. We're massively skeptical. We don't like collecting badges. And when B Corp had some bumps over the last couple of years or so, we've tested that. But where we stand at the moment is we think it's genuinely the best framework for businesses out there to be good at the moment.
So the real reason I brought you on, Andy, was because you're one of the most passionate people I've spoken to about B Corps, where it's been, where it's going, usually expressed in language that probably won't go down well on LinkedIn. So
Agreed.
Can we have not a plain vanilla précis, but where do you think we're going to go from here on the B Corp community? We're 2,500 companies. From my perspective, you're dyed-in-the-wool B Corp, really passionate about it. And obviously there are frustrations with being part of the community, but this is good news content for the month. Where is B Corp going to go in the future that's a bright place and, it can shake off whatever it's had thrown at it over the last couple of years in terms of bumps and knocks?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I always think, Adam and I and Phil and Ollie, our exco here, are always skeptical. And when we saw what happened to B Corp and Brewdog and all that sort of stuff that we would know about, I was very pleased on how B Corp reacted when I then saw the proposed framework change, which basically got harder. And it was like good because like our business, we exist because we do the hard stuff. And it's so easy for businesses to kind of like try and collect these badges. But what I really liked about seeing the new framework, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about it, but I'll give some hints, like a script in a movie. But it's getting harder, and you have to have things like a formal, giving it away, a formal zero commitment. And I really like that, and not because we've got one, but because. Let me spin it another way. We recently held an event, a large event in one of our partners to talk about how we could help decarbonize one of the categories that we manage. And obviously Kid A predominantly operates in a very commercial landscape. And so we have a lot of commercial people that came to that event, as well as sustainable people. And I remember one person in a very big brand said, it's not my job. And the first thing that I felt, I was really angry. I was like, well, you're a human being and it's our planet. Right? Yeah. So it is a job.
Yeah.
It is. The planet's on fire, and so what you can't do is go, well, I'm just going to make my money and let a CSR company department kind of handle that bit. And I like the fact that's really coming into play in B Corp, and they're going to make it harder. And as long as they continue to evolve to make it not like a difficult barrier to enter, but a very good test for a business to be able to genuinely do it. Because in all these kind of purpose things and communities, as you said, there are some frustrations, but at the heart of it, it is good. But what you can see are people who go, I'm going to go and get a B Corp badge because it will access a different demographic or a different market.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure that necessarily sits, because we're true believers. We are very, very passionate about that sort of stuff. So I hope that, and I know they will continue to evolve, and I know that it's on a genuine trajectory for good. And I think that as the community purpose builds, that should really, by definition, just make it a better place and better businesses to exist and not hurt the planet or people.
It's a great point, Andy. I think Glow, who we interviewed previously, made the point that even though people are doing it for cheap shots and cheap points, it's still a lot of work, and they've got to sweat hard for it. And more fool them is what I think. But
I'm with you, mate. I am with you. I think that I can imagine companies kind of sit down and go, what the hell is this new thing? And they'll look at market data and they'll say, consumer behavior is all about, that consumers are buying more purposeful brands. Let's do it. And then they go, yeah, you've got to change your articles of association to put people before it. And they go, yeah, sod that.
Yeah.
And it's too hard. But then by the flip side to that, there are genuine companies out there that will find it tricky to do, and because of their size or because of the areas that they work in. And I can only just say, look, you don't necessarily need that badge. As long as you're doing good stuff. Because I had to do a talk a while ago, and I remember saying, and please don't. This isn't for our ego. We wanted to be that type of business, and so when we certified, we actually did it relatively quickly, relatively easily. We did have some amazing help. Props to Kate Chapman, our B Corp leader. She was amazing. But what I have seen in my personal view is, you can see businesses have to pivot, and you're like, well, that's a lot of process change. That's a lot of things that either you weren't doing or you were doing a bit of. And fundamentally, it's good that they're getting there as long as they're doing it for the right reasons and they're in that kind of good place. So yeah, just a monologue like you get at the end of a villain movie.
And we all lived happily ever after. And let's cut it there, shall we? Back to the studio.